Hello everyone, my name is Dias Jose. I am one of the Geography optional faculty at Eileen IAS. Geography is broadly divided into physical geography and human geography. Population geography is a very important module coming under human geography. And today we will look at a very important theory associated with population geography called demographic transition theory. So, if I talk about this particular theory, I can say that this is a theory which tries to understand the relationship between economic development and population growth. So, we all know that all the societies and all the countries are going through the economic development. We can say that once we were all very medieval societies, once we were all very backward societies, and today many of the countries have gone through the process of economic development and they have become very modern and urban societies. Basically, we can say that the demographic transition theory will look into the transition of population characteristics when a society which is very rural, agrarian, traditional and illiterate develops into an urban, industrial, modern and literate society. It is in fact this transition that we are going to study through demographic transition theory. If you look at the rural, agrarian, traditional and illiterate society, we can say that this is the society or this is the characteristic associated with the medieval societies. So, in the medieval societies, we can see that there will be high birth rate. Similarly, there will be high death rate. Right. Now, as we move towards a modern and a progressive society, you can see that there is going to be a reduction in birth rate. So, there is low birth rate and there is low death rate. So, the importance of this particular theory is that we can place every country in the world within this particular theory. And we can also say that this particular theory put forward a very important idea that economic development is the most important contraceptive, or economic development is the largest or biggest contraceptive. So, this theory was actually put forward by two important geographers. One is Warren S. Thompson and another is Frank W. Nordstein. And this theory actually developed through different stages, and many geographers contributed towards the development of this theory. Basically, this theory suggests that every society or every traditional or medieval society will move through 5 stages during the progress or during the process of economic development. So, there will be 5 stages. Okay. We are actually going to study about each of the stage and understand this theory in its wholeness. So, now let us look at the stage 1. So, what happens in the stage 1? So, stage 1 means we are actually talking about this very traditional society. So, we can equate this traditional society to a medieval society, and in such a society we can say that there is no modern medical facilities. So, whatever medical facilities are available, it will be traditional medical facilities. Now, we can also say that this society is an agrarian society. So, here the labor is very important. So, because agriculture is a labor intensive activity, labor is very important. Now, because this is a society with only traditional medical facilities, we can say that this is a society having high death rate. So there will be high death rate because we don't have proper treatment for most of the diseases. Now we can also say that because there is very weak pregnancy care as well as care with respect to medical care with respect to delivery and child care and say post-natal care. So there is going to be high death rate among the infants. So there will be high infant mortality rate. Similarly, there will be high maternal mortality rate. A large number of mothers will be dying during the process of childbirth, and large number of infants will be dying immediately after the birth. Similarly, there will be high child mortality rate. Child mortality means children below the age of 5. So there is huge mortality rate for children aged below 5. So all of these things will add to high death rate. So there is no scope for treatment for most of the diseases. There is high infant mortality, there is high maternal mortality, there is high child mortality. That means there is high death rate. Now, so we know there is high death rate, but during so death rate is also affected by other factors, like occasionally there will be say situations, or there will be occurrence of war. There will be occurrence of war, and so during the war the population will come down. Similarly, there will be occurrences of epidemics, famines, etc. So these things will actually fluctuate the death rate. During the war, the death rate will increase. During the epidemics and during famines, the death rate will increase. So you can see that the death rate is fluctuating. Okay, there is a fluctuating death rate. Right. Now let us look at the birth rate. What will be the condition with respect to birth rate? So if you look at the condition with respect to birth rate, we can say that to compensate for the high death rate, people will reproduce more. And also, so this is one factor, that is to compensate for the high death rate. Because there is high death rate, the families and the couples will try to reproduce more, or try to give birth to more kids. Similarly, we know that this is an agrarian society, and in an agrarian society, labor is highly valued. So if you have more kids, you have more hands to work in your fields. So because of that reason also, the birth rate will be very high. Now you can see the high birth rate here. So the blue line demarcate the birth rate. Okay, birth rate will also fluctuate because certain events can actually affect the birth rate. Say for example, like war, epidemics, famines, etc. can also actually impact birth rate also. So we have got a society which is having high birth rate and high death rate. Because both birth rate and death rate is high, you cannot expect much population growth. So population growth is either nil or there is a slow growth. Okay, there is a negligible slow growth. Now, where can we find the example for stage 1 societies? 200 years ago, all the countries in the world were in stage 1. Okay, 200 years ago, all the present countries in the world was in this stage 1. Now, if you take India, India was in this particular stage 100 years ago, stage 1. But presently, we can find stage 1 communities only among the primitive tribal societies. So primitive tribal societies with no contact or no major contact with the outside world. Good example you can find with respect to the tribes of Amazon forest. Similarly, you can find such tribes in the Papua New Guinea region. Okay, the Papua New Guinea, there are tribes which does not have any contact with the modern society. So here there is no medical facilities, there is high birth rate, high death rate, no growth or very slow growth. That is stage 1. Now, let us move to stage 2. What will happen in the stage 2? So in the stage 2, there will be some economic development. So there will be some limited economic development happening in stage 2. So that means the society or the economy will move into activities other than agriculture. So there will be some development with respect to manufacturing. There will be some service sector activities. So there will be some expansion with respect to economic activities. Similarly, you can see that there will be introduction of modern medical facilities. So modern medical facilities will be introduced to the society or to these communities. Okay. Now what happened? Now it will happen. So because there is modern facilities, there is going to be decrease in the death rate. So there is going to be decrease in IMR. There is going to be decrease in child mortality rate. There is going to be decrease in maternal mortality rate. Similarly, many diseases can be treated. Okay, now many diseases can be treated and you can save the person from death. Now what will happen? That will be reflected in the death rate. Okay, the death rate will start to decline very fast. The death rate will start to decline very fast. That is, there will be sudden fall with respect to death rate. You can see that in the graph. You can see that in the graph. Here you can see the death rate, which is indicated by this green line. You can see there is sudden fall with respect to death rate in the stage 2. Okay. Now, when we look at birth rate, you can see that birth rate will remain almost same. Okay, but there is no much change with respect to birth rate when we move from stage 1 to stage 2. What might be the reason for that? Okay, the reason is simple, because though there is some economic expansion, there is expansion with respect to economic activities and introduction of some medical facilities, the society is still socially backward. Society is still controlled by the traditions and religions and other aspects. Okay, now because the society is still backward, as well as most of the people are engaged in agriculture, their labor is very important, then there is no idea of contraceptives. Contraceptives have not been introduced into the system. So there is no contraceptives. Similarly, there is no abortion or other birth control systems. Now what will happen? The birth rate will remain high. So birth rate will remain high. That's with respect to stage 2. You can see birth rate, there is no reduction in birth rate. Okay, birth rate will remain high. Only thing is it will stabilize. That fluctuating nature of the birth rate in the stage 1 will not be there in stage 2. Now, what can we say? What can we expect in this stage? This stage is the stage associated with the population explosion, because there is huge gap between birth rate and death rate. There is huge gap between birth rate and death rate. And in the present world, you can see countries in stage 2 where population explosion is happening in sub-Saharan Africa. Most of the countries of sub-Saharan Africa is falling under stage 2. So population explosion is happening in countries like Niger, Ethiopia, Chad, etc. Okay, there are many other sub-Saharan countries falling in stage 2. Similarly, you can find 2 countries from Asia coming in stage 2, Yemen and Afghanistan. Here also population explosion is happening. And India was actually in stage 2 around 30 years back. Till 1980s, India was in stage 2. It was after 1980s that India moved into the stage 3. We will be looking into that. Okay, in stage 3, we can see that the impact of economic development is going to affect birth rate in stage 3. It is from stage 3 the economic development start to affect or start to impact the birth rate. So here we can see that there is education, there is spreading of education, spread of education happening due to economic development, and this spread of education, especially with respect to women's education, will have huge impact on birth rate. So because women will be entering colleges and they will be opting for career, there is going to be delay with respect to age of marriage, and because of the fact that women will be engaged in education as well as career activities, there is less time for child care. So obviously the birth rate will come down. That is one factor. Another factor is that the economy will diversify more and agriculture will become less important. Okay, agriculture will occupy only some 20% of the GDP. Say for example, in case of India, it is less than 20%. It is 16 or 17%. And the importance of industrial and service sector will increase. Now, we know that in these sectors, in service and industrial sectors, we require skilled laborers. Okay, we require people with good education, good skills. So unlike agriculture, where the labor itself is valued, or if you are able to do physical work that is valued, here it is your skill set, it is your education which is valued. That means you need to spend lot of time on education, and you need to spend a lot of money for getting this education to be able to get a good job. So that means the cost of living or cost of education will all increase. So that is actually a disincentive for having more kids. So here, as the society become more industrial and service sector, it is not the number that matters, it is the education and the skill development that matters. So the number of kids will come down. Similarly, there is going to be increase with respect to expenses. So the child care will become more costly. So this can also affect the this can also lead to decrease in birth rate. Okay, so you can see that education can have impact with respect to the diversification of economy will have an impact. Similarly, you can see the increase in the expenses, increase in the cost of living will have an impact on the birth rate. Now here you can see the birth rate will start to fall. Okay, there is going to be a reduction in birth rate. There is going to be a reduction in birth rate, and the gap between birth rate and death rate will narrow down. Okay, so but we can say that this is also a period associated with population growth, but the population growth rate will come down. Population growth rate will come down. We can understand that with respect to India by taking the example of India's decadal growth. In 2001 census, India's growth was 21.5%, the decadal growth. Between 1991 and 2001, Indian population grew by 21.5%. But if you look the picture after 10 years, in 2011 census, we can see that the growth rate has come down. It is only 17.7%. Okay, so approximately around 7% a reduction in the growth happened. So this actually is a reflection of the fact that in stage 3 there is going to be decline in population growth rate. Now, which countries we can place in stage 3? We can place a large group of countries in stage 3. So most of Asian countries, most of Latin American countries will be falling in stage 3. So examples, okay, India is a country which is falling in stage 3. So India, our country, is actually in stage 3. So there is still population growth happening, but the growth rate is declining. So currently it is 17.7%. We can predict that in the next census it is going to be less than 17.7% because India is in stage 3. Other examples, we can see our neighbors like Bangladesh, Pakistan is also in stage 3. Similarly, you can find examples from Latin America. So Mexico, a very important country in Latin American region, is in stage 3. And most of the Latin American countries, rest of the Latin American countries is also falling in stage 3. Okay. So this is regarding stage 3. We will quickly look at stage 4 as well as 5. Now stage 4. Stage 4 is associated with countries having a very mature economy. Mature economy in the sense that these economies have gone through the process of economic development, and this economy is able to provide employment. This economy is highly diversified economy. It is a highly knowledge based economy, an economy which requires skilled labor, highly skilled labor, and this is also a society or a community or an economy which can provide high quality of life, and obviously because the medical facilities are very good, life expectancy will be very high. Most of the countries in stage 4 will be having life expectancy of above 80 years of age, and this is again a society which is considered as highly individualistic or highly materialistic society. Okay. Now this will be reflected in the birth rate and death rate. So death rate will be low because of the fact that there is very good medical facilities. Okay, death rate is low, and also there is very good care with respect to pregnant women, delivery, and postnatal care. So the death rate is going to be very low. Similarly, low birth rate because the focus of people is more on ensuring quality of life. So they will be having less number of kids. So they will be having 1 or 2 kids maximum, and they will provide best quality education and all of the best quality physical and environmental infrastructure and other aspect to this 1 or 2 kids. So the quality is important rather than having more kids, and expense is also very high. The expense of raising a kid in countries in stage 4 will be very high. That is also something which actually act as a disincentive for having more kids in such society. So you can find some of the largest economies of present world falling in stage 4. You can find US, you can find Canada, UK, China, and many countries of Europe is actually falling in stage 4. Here you can see that China actually moved quickly from stage 2 to stage 4 because of the one child policy they followed. Okay, they have followed this one child policy, and it is because of this fact that it is in stage 4. If you look say other countries having similar starting point like India, so we are in stage 3 because we have a more voluntary family planning system, but here there was a very strict rule called one child policy. Now let us quickly look at stage 5. Okay, stage 5. Stage 5 is associated with highly sophisticated and highly modern and urban societies. Okay, these are highly sophisticated urban modern societies. So good example is Japan. Okay, so Japan is highly sophisticated, highly modern, technology based, technology oriented country. So here, so the birth rate will go below death rate. That the birth rate will go below death rate. They have very low birth rate. Okay, very low birth rate. Say you can see that Japan has a birth rate, fertility rate of 1.4. Okay, that is say Japanese women have the fertility rate of only 1.4. That you need 2.1 for having replacement level. So basically there is, if you look at a couple, there is a male, there is a female. So the female have to reproduce or how to give birth to 2 kids to replace herself and her partner. Okay, so these 2 people will be replaced by their kids. But if it's 1.4 means they are not replacing themselves. So in the future the population will come down. Now you can have similar example from South Korea. South Korea was recently in news. In 2019 their fertility rate fall below 1. Okay, so it's 0.92, and they are going to experience depopulation, or their population will almost become half of the current population if the fertility rate will not increase after 40 years. Okay, and even in 2020 there are certain reports saying that it has reduced further. It is only 0.84. Okay, so you have got very low fertility rate in countries in stage 5. In European countries, you can find many European countries in stage 5. Germany is a good example. Germany, another country is Austria. So there are many more European countries falling in stage 5. I hope you got a good understanding about different stages and say what are the factors which determine the birth rate, death rate and population growth in these stages. So this is a figure which actually uses all the information which we have discussed. Okay, so this is what we have studied till now. Okay. Now we will have a quick look at the application of this theory, and we will also look at the criticism about this theory. Okay, with that we will be having a very good idea about this particular theory. So what will be the applications of this particular theory? So we can see that this is a very scientific and very mathematical theory. So if you have data, you can actually identify in which stage a particular country can be placed, or you can even apply that for a state or for a small region or a district. So that means this can be applied across the world. Okay, so spatially you can apply it across the world. So that's a very important aspect with respect to this particular theory. So spatially you can actually place this theory across the world. Now another important factor is that this is called theory for all time. That means you can actually apply this theory on past societies, present societies, as well as for future societies. Okay, so if you want to place the past societies into this theory, we can see that almost every society was in stage 1. And if you're going to place the future societies, we can say that most of them will be falling in stage 4 or stage 5. Now another important application is that this is very useful for predicting the future population. Say for example, in case of India, we can say that India's current population is 1.39 billion. Okay, and China's population is 1.41 billion. China is the most populous country and India is the second most populous country. And China is in stage 4. India is in stage 3. So we can say that India's population is growing very fast in comparison to China's population. And India is going to overtake China soon. And according to the UN report, India is going to overtake in 2027, but probably that is going to happen much earlier. Okay, so this is the application. This is one of the application of the theory. We can predict the future population. Okay, we can also predict the population of India in 2050 or 2060. Okay, so that is a very important application. Another aspect is that because this theory can be applied across region, it can be applied in almost in every country, and you can apply it at regional level, at state level, at district level, etc. This is a theory which can be used for planning, population planning, as well as for different framing different economic policies. So that's very important. Now another aspect is that by looking at this particular theory, at the data, and we can say that whether a particular country is developing, or if social development and women empowerment, etc., is happening properly in that country. So if there is proper social development and women empowerment, a country should be moving from one stage to another within a limited time period. But if a particular country is staying in stage 2 for too long, that means women empowerment is not properly happening. So women education is not spreading. Okay, only when a country can move from stage 2 to stage 3, that we can say that women empowerment is happening. Now a country in stage 3 has to stay there for some time and ensure the socio-economic changes, and it has to ensure economic development is happening, and it has to move to stage 4. Now we can say that this theory suggests the fact that economic development is the best contraceptive. That means if a particular place is having high population growth, high IMR, high MMR, and say high death rate, and high birth rate, so best contraceptive is to ensure economic development. So we can convert that particular region which is backward into a very modern and progressive society, and we can ensure the changes with respect to population if we can ensure economic development. So these are some of the very important applications of demographic transition theory. So what are the criticisms? Which we can identify with respect to this particular theory? So most important criticism is that this particular theory has failed to account for migration. So migration is a very important aspect when we study population. So we cannot talk about population of a country without considering migration, because we live in a world where people move, say crossing national boundaries or crossing state boundaries in search of better opportunities, in search of education, etc. So we cannot have a very good or very comprehensive population theory without considering migration. So this is very important. Say for example, so there will be specialization with respect to certain fields in different parts of the world. Say if you are into core engineering, so if you are very interested in engineering, say for example if you are into automobile engineering, so the best country to work for might be Germany or Japan. Okay, so you will try to move to that country. So if you are into core engineering, similarly there will be certain countries which will be the masters of automobile designing. Say for example Italy is a country associated with automobile designing. Similarly, if you are into technology, okay, information technology, you will try to move to US, okay, you will try to move to Silicon Valley, okay. So these aspects will be there, and certain jobs will have more opportunity in certain countries. So this migration aspect need to be accounted. Another important criticism is that the government policies can actually alter this particular theory. Especially in a strict, in an authoritarian government, in an authoritarian system, governments can actually alter the transition. A good example is with respect to China. China, through their one-child policy, has actually moved from stage 2 to stage 4 in a very quick manner. Okay, so it was in stage 2, and it has shortened the period of stage 3, and it has moved quickly to stage 4. So this is very important because countries like China can actually alter the stages. Okay. Now we can also say that this particular theory is actually based on data from European countries, Anglo-American countries, and Australia. Now the data or the population features will obviously reflect some of their socio-cultural aspects. So the European or largely European socio-cultural aspect is reflected in this theory. That means this theory is not accounting for the socio-cultural aspect. That means the traditions, the religions, the beliefs of other parts of the world like Africa, Asia, or Latin America. So this can have an impact. Okay, this can have an impact on the outcomes of this theory. Say for example, there some of the traditional societies will be considering some of their beliefs and some of their religious dictum while deciding family planning. Okay, so that's very important. Now we can also see that many European countries were colonist, okay, and these colonist or imperialist countries have actually made lot of economic interventions into African, Asian, and Latin American countries, and these economic interventions will obviously have some demographic impact, and this particular impact is not accounted in this particular theory. So this is a very important criticism. Now we can also see that this is a generalist theory. The generalist theory in the sense that we talk in general fashion, but however we can see that there is multiple transition happening within a country. Say for example India, we say India is in stage 3, but whole of India is not in stage 3. Okay, if you look at South Indian states are in stage 4. Okay, they are in stage 4, but most of the North Indian states will be in stage 3 itself. Now within India, you can even find districts or regions in stage 5. Say for example, there are 2 districts in Kerala which is having which is experiencing decline in population. So there is this district called Pathanamthitta, and there is another district called Idukki. Both of them have recorded decline in population in 2011 census. So we can say that these districts might be in stage 5. Okay, at least they might be just entering stage 5. So there is more. Say this theory cannot be simplified, and you cannot put one country in one country, like one large country like India, in just stage 3. So this multiple transition need to be accounted. Then another factor is that so there is war, epidemics and civil wars going on. Okay, so for example, there is civil war happening in Syria. Okay, there is civil war happening in Yemen. Okay, there is wars happening in Afghanistan. There was wars in places like countries like Iraq. Okay, and there is famine and epidemics happening in South Sudan. So all of these aspects will obviously have impact on demography. Okay, so sometimes it can actually push one country from one particular stage to an earlier stage. From, say for example, Afghanistan or say for example Syria might get pushed back into stage 2 from stage 3 because of ongoing civil war, because their medical facilities will collapse and there will be huge death. To account for this death, they will try to have more kids. Okay, so these are all some of the criticisms. Now, so these criticisms are there. However, we can say that this is one of the best population theories available, and this is the theory which is used across the world for population and population planning and policy making. So this is regarding, and this is about demographic transition theory, and this theory has huge application in almost every subject of gender studies, and this is also a very important theory in population geography, and almost every year, at least in alternate years, you will get questions in UPSC from this particular theory, demographic transition theory. You have to study the theory as well as you have to study the applications and criticisms. And I hope this session was useful. You have got a good understanding about what you mean by demographic transition theory, and you will be apply that in your answer sheets, or you will be able to apply that in your day-to-day life, in your surroundings. Okay, you will be able to apply that when you study about certain aspects of populations of different countries. Thank you. I hope this session was useful. Thank you all.